On today's show, it's part 2 of the mailbag. Let's talk about Evan Mobley and Darius Garland ceilings to start. Let's dive in.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
All right, the music you heard on the way in is from our friends at Astro Radio, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. I'm Chris Manning. That's Evan Dammarell. Thanks again to Jake Stevens, as always, for production. So, to start, here's our first question, part 2 of the mailbag. We had 2 people ask questions about Darius Garland and Evan Mobley against each other. XR Sway on YouTube asked if you had to predict which player has the better peak, Garland or Mobley, and then Demetrius Lockridge 3290 asked, it's a great name, by the way.
That's like, but if your name is Demetrius Lockridge, like, you are a powerful person, and like
that's just like, yeah, like, are you 6'5" and like, yeah,
6'5", you wear a top hat with like a big beard, and like you live in industrial London, but you're kind to the little orphans in the street and stuff. You're not like a Scrooge situation. I don't know. I'm just playing this out in my head now. Let's just keep going with it.
Yes, let's go to the
What's
question.
the question?
Who would you rather keep long term, Mobley or Garland? Me personally, I would take Mobley, as I feel he has the higher ceiling versus an undersized guard. Garland shooting makes his potential just as high, though, but I feel it'd be more of an uphill battle to build around. Here's just the first thing I will say, Evan. I'll let you answer this first. I don't think they're going to have to pick one or the other.
I don't think so either, but the question is, who would you rather have? And at first, when you said peak, I'm thinking, well, it's probably going to be Darius Garland, because you look at just like from a pure offensive standpoint, I think Garland's game is just different than Mobley's, because Mobley expends so much energy doing everything else on the floor, like defensively, offensively, the non-counting stats stuff. But like Garland, I don't want to say has like a much more basic game to him, but like it's score, pass, play passable positional defense, and sometimes provide good help defense, and just like more so be like the chess master on offense. That's his role. And like if you like want to look at a peak, like, yeah, it's a clear understanding of that. Plus it's also a guard-driven league predominantly. Like the guards are going to have more opportunities to score, and like you're going to see more and probably remember more from what Darius Garland did, unless like you're an absolute sicko who remembers like every single defensive highlight Evan Mobley has, which I do. But like from the defensive standpoint, or like a ceiling thing, like, yeah, it's Mobley. It's just like based on what we know right now, Garland to me has a much more clear higher. And this is, of course, this conversation could change a lot if Mobley shows us some different things on offense in year 3. But like for now, it's Garland.
I think right now, Garland's the better player.
Yes,
I think that's true. I think the answer for higher ceiling though has to be Mobley, because what Mobley is a potential two-way monster.
Mm-hmm. Mobley
is this guy who's already changing the game on the defensive end. He is someone who is, I think, going to win a Defensive Player of the Year award at some point. I feel very confident in projecting that forward and saying that. I think this is someone who's going to make some could be this year. I think he's going to make some All-NBA teams. Garland, I think, in terms of how he's going to impact the game offensively, that path is very much more linear about how he's going to impact at a high level, because he's already doing it. But Darius is as good as Darius is, as much as I love watching this guy play, as much as I think if there's anyone on this Cavs roster that I would trust with the ball in his hands, it's him, like even over Mitchell, because he just always seems to make the right decision, like 9 out of 10 times. He does not have the defensive two-way upside that Evan Mobley does.
No.
So the answer is Mobley.
Yeah, it's in terms of like long-term upside, yes, it is Evan Mobley, but you're on the same page. Like what we know right now, and just like in terms of current impact, Darius Garland is the better player than Evan Mobley. But from what you and I hope Evan Mobley can be and what we kind of expect him to be as a player and a prospect, he's going to have the better career overall in terms of what he brings to the table in terms of just like individual accolades and maybe just like team success as well. And to circle back completely to your initial point, you don't really have to pick and rank between these two because they're both going to be with the Cavs long term. Like those two are your franchise cornerstones. You build around them. Like, yes, you have Donovan Mitchell, who is a superstar in his own right, but like there's going to be a point where Mobley and Garland both pass him, and Mitchell is going to be the third fiddle in this trio that they're building, and then like Jarrett Allen is the fourth banana, of course. And that's just the reality of the situation. That's what happens when you have younger players that are growing and kind of finding their way within this very grown man league. But yeah, like Mobley has that potential to be a two-way defensive monster and also offensive monster who could be one of those players that is transcendental enough to like change the game in a way that we haven't seen since maybe like Giannis kind of had his crazy jump, or even Jokic. Like Jokic is the most recent example in terms of just like passing as like a big, and then Bam Adebayo as well. Like there's like Evan Mobley's kind of at that forefront of like big men being like the new revolutionary piece as the league adapts from a 3-point heavy league where the big man ceased to exist to now it's still 3-point heavy, but the big man is just as relevant, if not even more so, because of what bigs are now learning to do at like younger levels and just applying it to the NBA.
Yeah, and look, I just think you look at how you can build the best team you possibly can. You need to be able to defend at a high level and morph and evolve. And like, there's so much with Mobley that you can project out and think this guy's just going to do sensational things. That's at just a crazy level.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to like, I just think we kind of know that's not going to be what Garland is going to be. Like, we know that, like, we just don't like, there's never going to be a world where I could see Darius Garland being like he's going to be a backbone of like a top 10 offense. I think there's a world where Mobley is like the backbone of like a top 10 offense and like a top 5 defense. Like that's the simplest way I think we can put this. At least I can put this.
And there's also a reality where Evan Mobley is the guy who is the reason why the Cavs win so many games and probably has so much success. And Darius Garland will be a superstar player in his own right, but he'll be like that complimentary star to Evan Mobley. And like you said, like he has such good decision making and knows what to do at any time with the ball in his hands. And like Mobley is going to benefit from that. And then those two building upon that chemistry and harmony that they were like getting acquainted with last season, like that's going to be the future of the Cavs. And I think that's an exciting building block to think about going forward. But I agree with you, like Mobley just has more impact on either end of the floor that will make or break or shape just the future of the Cavs as long as he's with the team.
He's going to get a max. Just isn't the question, but he's getting a max next year.
The Cavs will never let him go unless like something completely unforeseen happens, of course. But that's what I said. Like if he's still like, as long as he's with the team, like I'm saying, like at the end of his career, if he like wants to go like play in Los Angeles because he's from that area, like that's fine. But I'm saying like for the prime of his and peak of his career and like the highest of highs, like it's gonna be with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, they have such a, like, as much as you can assume you have a window with two guys right now, the Cavs have them with two guys, and that's an advantage.
Let's put it this way. Depending on how you feel about John Morant and off-court stuff notwithstanding, like the Cavs got the best or second best player from that draft class, and then in Mobley's draft class, they got the best player overall. And like that's an incredible place to be comparatively to a lot of teams that are wishing they're in the same spot Cleveland was in terms of just being so young, but also like chomping at the bit to become like the next up and coming.
Yes. All right. Coming up next, got some more mailbag. We're going to turn our attention to Jarrett Allen as a shooter. Going to shoot that one down. Talk about that up next. Today's episode is brought to you by today's title sponsor, and that is our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. So snap into the action this NFL season and the starting NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Remember, that's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Remember, visit FanDuel.com for money lines, props, all of that, and they have a bunch of great NBA bets if that's more your jam. And it might be because you're listening to Locked On Cavs. All right, we're back. So Josh Reisinger, who's going to get 2 questions answered today because he asked a lot of questions on X. So good for you, Josh. Thank you. But would you be interested in seeing Jarrett Allen try out shooting threes this season? He had a confident set shot last season from mid-range. I would note, editor's note here, that's been a multiple season thing, but I digress. And he said, it's not like it's unprecedented nowadays for non-shooting bigs to turn into solid shooters once they actually try it. Here's what I would say, very bluntly. Jarrett Allen's not going to become a three-point shooter.
I'd be stunned if he has like a Brook Lopez career revitalization
okay, Jarrett Allen is the offensive player. Let's describe what he does right now. He dunks, he screens, he rolls, he has that ability to hit that flat-footed jumper from the midi sometimes. Decent enough free throw shoot. He runs the floor well. He has like a very core big man skill set. It's very effective for what he is. The big you should be asking about shooting threes, it's Evan Mobley taking like corner threes. It's not Jarrett Allen suddenly running, like being the pop out guy in a double drag set where he's getting a clean look from three and like a guard is rolling.
Or Tristan Thompson brings it back, dribbles completely early into a shot clock and just hoists up a 3-pointer. Like moments like that.
I mean, you do. Younger fans may not like know that this was like a thing with Tristan. Go back to
more so a product of like John Bayline.
No.
That's hand switch thing.
Yes. So if people want to go read something really cool and learn about some Cavs history, and if you're a little bit younger, go read this and like go read Lee Jenkins. Read Lee Jenkins if you don't even know about him, and I hope you all do. He was to me the best NBA feature writer we had for like a long, long time. He wrote for Sports Illustrated. He now works in the front office for the Los Angeles Clippers.
People, if you're watching me shake my head aggressively, Lee Jenkins is so good. One of my favorite pieces he wrote was the Kobe Bryant Stonecutter story. So like it's just like he's got so many good bangers.
Yeah, I mean there's a great story about Michael Kidd Gilchrist and Michael Kidd Gilchrist stutter. He was the one obviously who went to LeBron he's the reporter that LeBron and his team like summoned to Las Vegas to get the exclusive when LeBron was coming back. Like that's who he was for this like long stretch. We miss. There was an era of NBA writing that doesn't feel like it exists in the same way anymore. That was like features of superstars. You got a bunch every year, often at SI, often ESPN, and they were just like these amazing things, and like we just don't get them in the same capacity at the same volume anymore. Lee Jenkins was, when he left, I was like, this sucks, man, because it just that went away. But the story he wrote, I'm going to Google it and tell you the exact name of it. Tristan Thompson. So Tristan Thompson, his like rookie or sophomore year, can't remember which.
It was his sophomore year, he switched from being a lefty to a righty because he wasn't making a single free throw his rookie season. And this is also when Tristan had no offensive game, where he would literally like wind up for 20 seconds and try and dunk the basketball, and either he got fouled or he dunked.
Yeah. So Lee Jenkins also had a Kyrie story in 2012. That's worth your time as well if you want to go all the way back. Tristan, he wrote a story about Tristan Thompson switching hands and trying to make Tristan a shooter, and that was Tristan. I think this was 2013. This was August of. Ben Golliver has a news story about it. Oh my goodness, what a time that this was. The SI staff at that time was just fantastic. But
good.
So to get back to the actual question, the Jarrett Allen is not going to shoot threes, and he doesn't have to be a useful center. I can understand, Evan, if long-term people are thinking, okay, maybe Evan Mobley is not going to provide you the spacing you need.
Correct.
And you need to find like a center who can shoot.
A Lopez-like player.
But like, hey, those players are very rare.
Yeah. Like,
they're very rare. They're often, even if they can shoot threes, they're not as good as Jarrett Allen is overall. Like, you're making a trade-off. Yeah. And I don't see a world where Jarrett Allen is ever going to shoot threes. Like Rudy Gobert was shooting threes for France this summer, and Anthony Edwards is out here acting how I would act, and saying, like, I'm walking out of the arena if Rudy Gobert shoots a three in any game. It just doesn't happen. Brook Lopez is one of, like, a bajillion. This is not, like, a common thing for bigs to just suddenly be able to make threes at a respectable clip.
No, and Lopez is the evolution, and I think you look at, like, current bigs now, like, Bam can hit a three, but he doesn't need to, and nor does Miami really, like, have an offense that's conducive to do so. Like, Jokic is a guy who can hit threes. Wemby is a guy who projects to hit threes. To your point, like, in terms of bigs that needs to be, if it becomes a part of their offensive repertoire, it's going to be Evan Mobley, because he showed a bit of like that shooting upside at USC, and we saw it at times last season. And I saw it so many times whenever the Cavs were wrapping up shoot around or practice anything of him just like practicing threes all around the arc with either his brother, Luke Walton, or both of them. And I think that's the path. And sure, Jarrett Allen has that flat-footed jumper. He is a pretty, I wouldn't say like reliable, like he's not the guy you want going to the line in like a clutch situation, but like if he gets fouled in like fast break, or like he's somehow fouled and has to go to the line, like you're not feeling he's a total liability. He's not Andre Drummond at the line. So, and yeah, like that projects to it, but also like Jarrett Allen, in terms of like the star tiers on Cleveland's roster, like his offensive peak kind of hit when he came to Cleveland in the first place. Like, I think it got better and more refined because he had Darius Garland as a partner, and then like he's learning to play with Mitchell and Garland together. But you're more so focusing on like what could he provide us on the defensive side, and also are you cool with getting like 10, 12, maybe 15 points max most given nights, and that's all rim running, pick and rolls, lobs, and fast break scenarios and stuff like that.
If you go into like centers who like shoot, it's like Nikola Vucevic and Karl Anthony Towns, and
I forgot about Cat.
And like it's like Steven Adams doesn't shoot them, and like he's a really good center, and it's like you go down the list, it's like Kelly Olynyk.
The Steven Adams shooting thing, the Korean thing, he's like, which one, north or south? And I'm just like, oh.
I love that he was messing with that guy. It's like Miles Turner, like the centers that would fit the need that you need on both ends of the floor. Like, well, okay, let's just say hypothetically,
like Miles Turner's like your ideal center if you could trade for him, but like, yeah, that's where the money things comes into it then.
Right. Well, I mean, Jarrett's making 20, like he's close to that. Like it would be like, okay, do you want to play Evan at the 5 and get a stretch 4? That's a tactical change. Do you want to like get like a Channing Frye type who like can really shoot it? But then what are you giving up defensively if you want to go that route? Like there's lots of, this isn't just like a simple question. Obviously the easy answer would be, hey, Jarrett Allen's not making threes. Like, great. I just don't think that's going to happen. And I also, I don't think JB Bickerstaff, based on how we talked about it last year, is going to be like, hey, Jarrett, jack some threes, my dude. Yeah.
Yeah. And like he made one last season, I want to say, if I remember off the top of my head, during like an actual game, and like it was just like a chaotic moment. But
I'm gonna look.
I was gonna say a tongue-in-cheek thing is, if the Cavs really want to like play Evan Mobley at the 5 and put a stretch 4 next to him, they could copy Golden State and put Donovan Mitchell at the 4 like they did to Klay Thompson.
Well, Klay Thompson's gonna get like wrecked as a defensive 4, and Donovan Mitchell would get even more wrecked as a defensive 4.
Dude, LeBron's gonna eat so much when they play the Warriors, or like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Jarrett Allen made one. You're right. He made 1 3 last year. It was on January 29th against the Los Angeles Clippers.
That is right. It was like a weird possession because they steamrolled the Clippers that game, didn't they?
Won by 23. Jarrett Allen for his career. Here, I'm going to just tell you his per season averages of 3-pointers attempted, okay? This is from age 19 through age 24. This is like a 6-year, whatever year sample, okay? Rookie year, 0.2. Second year, 0.6. Third year, 0.1. Fourth year, 0.3. Then with Cleveland in 21-22, 0.2. And then last season, 0.1. This dude is never going to shoot threes. Brook Lopez is 1 of 1 if that's what you're hoping for. And like Lord knows how that even happened. I still don't really fully understand it. I don't think anyone aside from Brook Lopez and probably Robin does.
We'll never know because they're back together in Milwaukee.
But which is bad because then we get less Robin making fun of Brook content, at least I would think.
So to the other point we were talking about before we head back into break, like trading for Miles Turner, I don't see like the Pacers doing that before like that becomes like a thing. because Miles Turner provides that unique skill set that Jarrett Allen doesn't. And you have to ask, like, do the Pacers want to sacrifice that? Probably not.
Yes. No, they do not. And
especially for the paltry assets the Cavs.
Yeah, you'd have to Let's see if Evan Mobley shoots threes, not Jarrett Allen. Is the TLDR of this.
Let's not put the cart in front of the horse quite yet.
Yes. All right. Coming up next, one last mailbag question, also from Josh about Isaac Okoro on offense. Let's talk about that next. Today's episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs make the most comfortable, luscious shorts and pants that you can possibly get. You're not going to want to take them off. I feel pretty confident saying that because when I wear mine, kind of bumped into the day when I have to change and put them away in the laundry. Bird Dogs make you look good. They make stretch khaki shorts designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. Bird Dog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but fit way better. And they fit way better than regular shorts that are made of stiff, restricting cotton. Bird Dogs fixed that uncomfortable issue for people by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but stretches so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. Bird Dogs uses anti-stink, sweat-wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long, and they are functional for any occasion: a golf game, date, evening out, pool, workout, lounging, going to work. Go to birddogs.com/LockedInNBA or enter the promo code LockedInNBA at checkout for a free water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedInNBA for a free water bottle at checkout. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise. All right, last question again from Josh Reisinger over on Elon Musk's platform. Any interest in Okoro playing the four offensively? Niang would be a pretty good partner off the bench to allow this to happen. There'd be a lot less pressure on him to shoot it, and it would help get him the ball at an advantage without having to create it himself. He adds that Niang is basically a wing on offense anyway. Fact check, true. Then on defense, they swapped their more typical positions. Evan, what do you think of this? What's your answer to this?
I don't hate the thought process behind it, just because... yeah, like you could play Niang as a 3 on offense, and basketball is more positionless to begin with. So, like, if you're saying, like, hey, Isaac, we're going to kind of use you more at, like, the dunker spot, or maybe, like, would they do stash him in the corner and, like, they try to, like, get Niang going a little bit so defenses have to kind of, like, respect him a little bit, because Darius Garland has asked about this in terms of just like what Max Strus provides, and Garland said like, well, it's going to give like guys like Isaac and even Jarrett more opportunities at the basket, or like Isaac specifically, like it's going to be easier for him to cut along the baseline and get an easier look at the basket, just because like dudes are going to be getting more attention on the perimeter, whether it's himself, Mitchell, Strus, Niang. Like there could be some interesting roster fluidity there, and yeah, like if you pair those two together as in like a bench unit, like I don't hate it. Let's say like you run like a lineup of like, let's say LeVert, Garland, Okoro, Niang, and one of Mobley or Allen. Like it's not terrible. There's 3 shooters on the line on the floor there in theory, and then like you have Okoro, who's a bit of like a mystery box still in terms of what he can provide, and then like either a guy who could be a shooter, Mobley, or a non-shooter, as we discussed in the second segment, in Allen. There's some roster fluidity and versatility you could do to kind of mitigate and compensate for the fact that Okoro just isn't the shooter that a lot of us kind of hoped he could pan out to be in year 3 or heading into year 4.
I think if you think about the movement offense they've been talking about, I think Okoro is potentially a benefit, because I think this is hitting at what could really open up for him. He is someone that I think at times has struggled to know when to cut and has struggled to know how to kind of read defenses. I think that should, in theory, be easier for him if there's more movement, if the spaces just kind of naturally open up and it's not reading a more set defense. If he's going against something that's just a little more fluid, I think that opens a door for Okoro to do some of this. And I think the Niang shot for him is a good one. I think he needs to be on the floor, pick one of the guards. Let's just say it's Garland, Niang or Strus, and then like I think Mobley at the 5. I think those lineups where like there's a lot of spacing are a great way for Okoro to find a role. And I was talking to a friend of the program, Justin Rohn, about this when I saw him in town, and he's like, there is a need for his skill set still. Like I think like, he is not the main reason. You don't like change your offense to like create a role for a guy that has a pretty specific defensive role.
Yeah.
But if that's an added benefit, I kind of think I'm happy with that if I'm JB Bickerstaff. You can have something like this where he is maybe still standing in the corner or standing on the wing, but there's more actively him cutting into the lane, cutting into space, or at times hanging out of the dunker spot and maybe trying to be an offensive rebounder in spots. Like, I don't hate that idea to see if you can get a little bit more out of him.
No, I don't either, just because, like you said, the defensive upside that Okoro provides, especially now with Lamar Stevens gone, like Cleveland's like best, he already was Cleveland's best point of attack defender, but like other than Mobley, maybe the only point of attack defender the Cavs really have in terms of just like true perimeter defense. And it's now, and also like you said, like you're not adapting the entire offense to a guy who isn't giving you much offensive juice or a role player like Okoro would begin with, but you can find ways to make it healthier and conducive for him to get easier looks at the bucket, so he's engaged on both ends of the floor. And also, like, yeah, there's going to be opportunities where, like, hey, defenses are collapsing on everybody else. Isaac, if you are comfortable and within the flow and rhythm of the offense, and you kind of have an understanding of what your identity is, like, or what your expectations are, it makes it a little cleaner. And that does, speaking of expectations, like Karis LeVert said, heading into the season, like, everyone has a pretty clear understanding of what their roles are going to be on this team going forward. And I'm curious to hear from Okoro, because he didn't talk at the podium, like, what is your role and expectation on offense? Because I think defense, we have a pretty clear, not a fully clear understanding of it, but a pretty good understanding of it. But like, hey, Isaac, like, what is expected of you on offense this season? And if he has like some pretty clear cut answers, like, that's refreshing in terms of just maybe him not really knowing his first 3 years.
All right, that's it for this episode of Locked On Cavs. The end of this week of Locked On Cavs. I'm Chris Manning. Thanks to Evan Dammarell. Thanks to Jake Stevens. Thanks to all the people who submitted questions. Back at you after the weekend.
I'm here 5 days a week.
I'm just saying thanks. And for Evan, I'm not going to ask you to make a pick because this is a Chris thing. I just want to be on the record. You people should watch the WNBA Finals. Liberty in 5. Let's roll. Talk to y'all Monday.